Life million years ago. For as long as humans have walked the earth, we've been under threat from predators. But what were the first humans like? And how did they defend their young against the dangers that surrounded them? Let's find out in today's episode of Life a Million Years Ago. Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. Remember to hit that subscribe button to get more videos like this one. Scientists have found fossils of some of the earliest known members of our genus, Homo. The species is called Homo habilis, which means handy man. It dates back around 2.4 million years ago. These early ancestors of modern man lived in Africa, and scientists say that they were the first hominins to use primitive stone tools. They were also the first to live in groups, and it was their ability to work together that probably helped them survive during a time when Africa was full of predators. They lived alongside creatures like the big cats, Acinonyx, a kind of cheetah-like cat that could run at incredible speeds, and the hyena, which has been around for about 300,000 years. Also lurking nearby would be packs of wild dogs, or rather something very similar to them. Scientists believe that these would be ancestral to the dogs we keep as pets today. And they hunted in packs too, making them even more dangerous than the hyenas. Then there were the leopards, who were not only efficient hunters, but who were also perfectly adapted for climbing trees. This gave them an advantage over most other predators because it meant that they could escape into the safety of the trees if they had been injured or if they needed to rest after a hard day of hunting. These various predators lived across the landscape, so no matter where our hominid ancestors went, they would have to be on the lookout for danger. There are lots of different theories as to what life was like for these ancient humans. But in general, it would have been difficult, scary, and lonely. The chances are that they would have had to spend more time hiding than doing anything else. Imagine being terrified all the time that something was going to try and eat you. Even just walking to your local food source would be a gamble. These days, most babies are born helpless and need looking after by adults. This is true for both apes and humans. However, our ape cousins don't have to worry too much about predators because they live in places where there are not any. In fact, some of them don't even have to worry about human predators. Some apes live in heavily forested areas of Central and South America, while others live in the jungles of Southeast Asia and Africa. These areas are almost uninhabited by people, which means that apes can go about their daily business without too much fear of being hunted down and poached. Apes in captivity have been observed looking after each other's young. However, this doesn't happen too often. This means that the responsibility of childcare would have been left up to adult apes within a community. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, but caring for a baby is hard work. Babies need constant supervision, and they take a lot of time and energy to look after. If the adults in a troop didn't look after the young, then they would be unlikely to make it to adulthood themselves. As anyone who's looked after a child will know, babies are demanding and they cry a lot. In the wild, this could alert predators to the presence of the troop. This is why it's so important for an infant to be cared for properly. But with all these dangers lurking, how could the first humans protect their young? Our closest living relatives don't really look after their young. So what did these first humans do? Well, it turns out that they built their own special treetop villages. Researchers have been studying bones from early humans in order to learn more about how they used to move around. This has enabled them to work out whether or not they were good at climbing trees. The results have revealed that our ancestors began climbing trees regularly at least 200,000 years before they learned to make stone tools. Using their knowledge of climbing, researchers decided to recreate how these ancient hominids might have moved through the forest. They used rope and wooden poles to construct a series of platforms high up in the trees. These were then connected together with rope bridges. It was hoped that this would recreate a primitive village that our ancestors may have built in the forests of eastern Africa. The researcher who led the study said that she wanted to show how climbing could have provided a way for early humans to access resources and avoid predators. She also said that the technology available to early humans would have allowed them to build shelters that were safe from most predators. So it seems that the answer to protecting the young back then was simply to climb trees and build dwellings in the branches. It's quite a simple solution to a complex problem, but it worked. Nowadays, we don't have to worry about living in trees, but many families still have to worry about keeping their children safe from harm. For example, bears are dangerous predators. They can grow up to 8 feet tall and weigh 1,500 pounds. That's the size of a polar bear. Brown bears can also be huge. They're the largest land predator in North America, and they can reach 7.5 feet in height and weigh 1,800 pounds. Black bears are smaller, but they can still pose a threat to humans. They stand around 5 feet tall and can weigh up to 600 pounds. Many families visit national parks in order to see bears in the wild. However, these beautiful creatures can turn nasty. If they feel threatened or if they think that you might be trying to steal their food, they can attack you. Sometimes they attack campers and they'll ransack their tents or their RVs in search of treats. However, this can lead to conflict with humans, and it's not uncommon for rangers to have to destroy a bear's den if it gets too close to humans and starts acting aggressively. But there's a sadder fate that awaits some of the bears, and that's to be killed by humans. Around 200 people are killed by bears every year, mostly by brown bears and polar bears. Because of the dangers posed by these creatures, some families have had to defend themselves against attacks. One such family was the Drozdenkos from Russia. They were picnicking one day when they were set upon by a huge brown bear. Dad tried to fight the beast off with his bare hands while Mom grabbed her son and ran to the car. Fortunately, the bear wasn't interested in chasing them and instead focused its attentions on Dad. He managed to fight the bear off until it eventually gave up and went away. No one was seriously hurt, but it was still a traumatic experience for the family. Sometimes, though, things don't turn out so well. Take the case of Samantha Wardrop from British Columbia. She was camping with her boyfriend and 3 of her friends when they were attacked by a black bear. The bear woke them up by clawing at their tent. When Samantha opened the tent flap to investigate, the bear lunged inside. It grabbed her boyfriend's arm and dragged him outside. The group panicked and tried to fight the bear off with sticks and rocks. But it took several minutes for them to drive the animal away. Unfortunately, by that time, Samantha's boyfriend had been badly mauled, and he later died in hospital. Now, luckily, incidents like this are rare, and usually bears won't attack a person unless they feel cornered or threatened. Brown bears are particularly sensitive to perceived threats, and if you can keep calm and stay polite, then you'll probably be fine. But it's not only bears that can cause problems for families. Wolves are another dangerous predator that can put people in mortal danger. In Alaska, it's not unusual for wolves to attack sled dogs. This can cause problems for families that use their dogs to get around because they might wake up in the morning to find that their dogs have been killed. In 2012, 2 men had to defend their daughters against an angry wolf. One of the men was awakened by the sound of screams in the night. He went outside to investigate and saw a wolf dragging his daughter away. He ran to help her and managed to scare the wolf away. When the police arrived, they discovered that the wolf had also tried to attack one of his friends, but it had backed off when the second man came to help. Some families have had to defend themselves against other kinds of predators. For example, Ivan and Natalia Chernyavsky from Russia were woken up by the sound of screams coming from their 6-year-old daughter. The creature that was attacking her turned out to be a lynx. This large cat had somehow got into their house and was trying to eat their daughter. The parents managed to fight the beast off, and their daughter survived, although she needed 70 stitches to close the wounds on her face. Even in our modern world, it can be difficult to protect your family from danger. But thankfully, we're not living in the era of the Homo habilis. These early humans didn't have the option of locking themselves behind iron bars or calling 911 in order to protect their young. Instead, they had to rely on their wits and their primitive stone tools to fend off whatever dangers came their way. Thankfully, we haven't had to resort to living in trees in order to escape predators for a very long time. Thanks for watching. Which extinct animal would you have liked to have seen featured in this video? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe.